this year. That's something I promise to work on over time, but I won't promise results. I want to thank my friend and co-chair, Vice Minister Rodas, the President Pro Tem of the State of Mayor, our host today, Edgar Calderon. Thank you for your comments. And I also want to just note that I'm here representing the administration, but together with my colleagues across the U.S. government, which really indicates that this is a whole of government from the U.S. perspective approach and effort. And I think if you'll see that I have my friends here from not only from the State Department, but from the Energy Department, as well as, this is the important piece of it, more important than us, and that's the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, OPIC, who's here with me, who's traveled down here as well, as the U.S. Trade and Development Agency. These are the two agencies that really can take a role in what Vice Minister Rodas just talked about, really bringing some of the investment in the private sector to support the efforts that we're all trying to make. In that context, not my partners, but all of our partners, all of us, the fact that we have the World Bank and the IDB here is critically important. Without them, it's very difficult for us, for any of us, to achieve the very ambitious goals that we all have and face. And I keep telling people we shouldn't use the dream. We should say this is a goal, not a dream. And IDB and World Bank are our partners in that, and I thank them for coming down and being part of this process that we are all in. As Vice Minister Rodas said earlier, this task force was proposed by and conceived by all of our presidents, and when President Obama was in Panama. The idea really is not to create anything new, as we discussed in July, but to say we've had so much progress already being done. How do we create a process where we can all get together and think about ways to accelerate the progress that's already being made and strengthen the kind of progress and institutions that we are all trying to create? And that's the idea of the task force. And I know that we're going to have another meeting later on this year, in the next couple of months, as Ambassador Haney just mentioned. And I think in that, what I'd like to be able to do is to achieve today some kind of momentum and focus on where we're going. As Vice Minister Rodas, and I'll repeat it, and I apologize, but I thought that the Vice Minister did a very eloquent job of saying what we're here to focus on. But as we note what we're here to focus on, I don't want to take away from the fact that there are several other issues that we all think are important and critical in our conversations. We are having this meeting 2 months after the great achievement in Paris at the COP21 on climate change. And the phase that we're entering after Paris is no longer looking at what our goals are going to be, what our targets are going to be, but rather how do we implement them. And the way to implement them is more generation of renewable energy and achieving better results in efficiency standards. That is an area that we all want to discuss and is critical for the conversation for this region. And as Mr. Obregon talked about before, the opportunities in this region in wind and solar beyond hydro are so important that that's a conversation we should have, but not today. We have to talk about the role that this region can play in integration with Mexico and how is the best way to do that as a big market right next door. And that's another area that we have to continue to talk about, as well as obviously implementing and getting to make concrete progress so we can start the effort on the Second Circuit, as was discussed by the Vice Minister. The role of natural gas and how it plays in the region and what kind of a regional approach to natural gas not just individual countries making decisions on how natural gas plays a role in their economy, but we have to also think about how that impacts the decisions that the rest of the region is going to make on transmission of power. But based on what we talked about in July in San Salvador and the recommendation that you all made, we are going to focus, I believe today, what I hope, on the 4 areas that were mentioned before. And that's on the individual country's national upgrades, on firm and long-term contracts, as well as transmission methodology, the technical problem that we all face and are aware of on the oscillations, and how do we fix those, and a dispute settlement process in the Crete. So if I had to think about what our status quo was when we first envisioned this task force, and if we had set it in stone, it would have been wrong today. Because we've made a lot of progress. And I think we have to recognize in the report that we're going to do together to our presidents, recognize the great achievements and progress that we've made. And just to remind people, because I know that you know this, but the results have been phenomenal. Just in the last 2.5 years or so, the commercial transaction in the mayor have quadrupled. And in 2014, over 60% of electricity generated in Central America was from renewables. But if I go back to what the Vice Minister talked about, and that's generating the investment in clean energy, in order to get there and incentivize companies to make those investments, strengthening the regional approach, strengthening the CFA, and making sure that it's at the higher capacity and that all the technical issues get resolved, will increase the chance, probability, and quality of that foreign investment and international investment in this region, because you still have a tremendous opportunity to increase from small individual markets to a large regional market. And companies around the world all want to invest here. So the opportunity is there. The opportunity to reduce what is the second highest electricity cost in the hemisphere is there as well. So I look forward to the conversation today, and I hope it's exactly that. My hope is that this is a conversation, and that we can all keep our comments focused on the areas that we're discussing at that point in the agenda, and have an actual exchange of ideas so that we can achieve real change and progress today, leading us into our next meeting and leading you all into your own meetings that you're going to have outside of the context of the task force. So with that, thank you again, and I look forward to today's conversation.